Welcome back, everyone, after a long hiatus to the Two Industry podcast. Again, my name is Hill. This is Mike Games. This is Andrew way over there. And something's coming up very soon, which is the E3. It's the show of all shows. Right? And whenever we started this podcast, we actually had our predictions of E3 last year. But our E3 predictions last year, we felt like a lot of things would transpire and kind of come up to what's going on right now. And they're giggling right now because we were making a bunch of dick jokes. So, but we're going to continue because that's what we really are like.
Right.
Well, and Andrew made a joke earlier about being dickless because guess what? Microsoft decided to sell a system to go connectless, right? So we're very sorry if this offends anyone, but Microsoft,
Especially the dickless people.
right? Microsoft decided to have an operation because like in the last year they championed their whole focus around Connect.
Yes.
And actually connecting with people and kind of being that conduit between you and your system.
That's the name.
That's where they wanted to do it. Now they're connectless.
Yeah, they're dickless. They're giving a shit all over all the customers.
All over their
Basically,
chest.
yes, essentially all over their chest. They charge them $100 extra just so they could just be like, no, I'm sorry. You don't need it.
And it's crazy because basically they're just following whatever Sony is doing. They feel like after it hasn't really been that much of a year just yet because when did they release it? November, October, November,
End of
right?
November.
Right. It's probably been 8 or 9 months. My mouth is off, but they're already like pulling the plug on their whole gung ho of what their premise is,
Yes.
what their selling point is, just so they can win the cost battle of beating Sony. But what's funny is like when you pull out that big innovation, where's the gap? You know, what separates you from Sony in the first place?
Well, essentially now they're just playing catch up.
Right.
Right. So,
Now they really need this E3 to
Turn everything around.
right and then be their system pusher.
well, yes. I mean, they've already, I don't even think it's been released in Japan. And
Oof.
Europe, they're losing the market.
Right.
And US, you got your dude bras and your frats that have it.
That first person shooter, right?
I have it. But it's trying to reach beyond that market. And right now, Sony is promoting it as a console game system, where now Xbox is just trying to
play catch up, right? And what's interesting is that you pointed out to me off camera as well that they were so focused on feeling like they were able to maintain their previous fan base from the 360. But what's the actual thing is that whenever you switch between generations, that's when everyone actually resets.
Right. Consoles have this thing of whoever's number one, so arrogant that they think their next console is just going to
Sony did this shit too.
Nintendo did it with
Yeah.
the Wii. PlayStation 2 did it. And they
With
learned their
3.
lesson with the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And Xbox did it. I thought the original Xbox was great.
Right.
Again, it came out really late in the console cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox 360 came out ahead of everybody, which was great, but obviously the hardware wasn't ready. But it was still a number one game console, even though they lost a lot of money off of the hardware.
Right.
And they just kind of figured everybody would just jump on that bandwagon, making a Kinect essential for it. And Sony did a great thing. Everything that Microsoft was saying that they were going to do, they did almost the exact opposite.
Right, exactly.
And it was a game changer. And
you could tell that Sony was like, we're experienced in the gaming market. We know what you're going to do, Microsoft.
I think they said, we learned our lesson.
Well, that too, right?
And we know what to do this time around.
Right. I mean, in a short sense, being the all-in-one console doesn't seem to be very favorable to console makers.
We're not there yet. We're not.
Yeah, other people don't care enough outside of the gamers to really invest in
Right.
that.
I think they saw the market, from teenagers to 30, 40-year-olds
Right.
that were the gaming market.
Right.
But then they didn't really take into account that gamers are the ones that are buying that console,
Right.
not just families.
Right.
I think they were probably looking at the original Wii, saying, "Oh, well, everybody has
Right.
a Wii.
Right.
Maybe everybody wants an entertainment system," and that's what Microsoft was focusing on.
Right. Like kind
Again,
of
they
a
didn't have the content.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what kind of segues into this next thing. Is like, what would you expect in this next E3? Is there going to be any kind of content? You were you mentioning like TV or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna, like we were talking about, they need a new system seller, so I think they're gonna, probably, like I was saying earlier, touch the tip and talk about, give a little preview of Gears of War. But yeah, I think they're gonna,
Because they have to have something for this E3 just to turn things around.
yeah,
Because there's one thing of dropping the price, but you can't drop the price when everybody was already saying, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna go to Sony instead. Like, who are you? What part of the market are you trying to gather now?
Right.
well, I think it's a little too late. I would have, I mean, I still got it day one, but it did, the extra $100 for a Connect did hurt a little bit. I wish I would have been able to use that money to for more games.
Right.
Um,
And they're real. Oh, go ahead. Well, that's my
that's what I was
that
gonna
was
say.
my
But with that
point.
being said, there weren't
That was my
games,
point.
but
And they really need exclusives. Man, it's crazy how important exclusives are to really push a system. And their Halo is like kind of far away.
Right.
You know.
They definitely should have planned ahead, and it's the same thing that I think Sony was the only one that kind of planned for that.
Right.
But Nintendo didn't, and Microsoft didn't. Is having content every couple of months, and
Right.
even though Sony, their content that they've come out with have just been DLC type, indie games. At
Right.
least it's something,
Right.
Uh, whereas Xbox 360 or Xbox One, they just haven't had, besides Titanfall, just that. What's the reason I'm not going to buy that?
I thought I would never say this, but this is the only time where I feel like game console companies could actually take some pointers from the music industry. Whereas
Puff
in
Daddy style?
Puff Daddy style, no, because in the music industry, like these big hitters, right? Like which is going to be their big exclusive games, are like a gigantic ship that they maneuver, and it takes time to actually move that stuff. So maybe they should really focus all their money and focus on indie developers, which Sony really did, right? So they can actually have some kind of strong exclusive content
Right.
ready to go for these systems, and then when the big stuff comes in, then everything kind of works out. That's what the music industry does, but then again, they have all these other fucking problems. But anyway,
Right.
that's what Microsoft probably should have did, but they were so focused, and that's the thing, and that's probably Nintendo's problem too. They're so focused on trying to push the novel aspect of their gimmick that they overlooked how important those
And
developers
that's
are.
what it is. Like the whole I mean, I have Xbox hooked up to my TV, and it is a gimmick. Like the interface is not that great,
Hmm.
and the tweaks that they've done to it still hasn't made it friendly.
Right,
I'm still having issues connecting to my friends, especially on Titanfall, which is supposed to be a number one seller for them. Mike and I we were trying to play the other night,
Yeah.
and we were having issues just trying to connect, and
damn.
it was just like, gosh, guys, like for something that to play with other people, at least on a game level,
It should be connect.
that should
yeah.
be pretty seamless,
Right.
especially an online game.
Right? And
The whole purpose of it, right?
but not only that, but navigating the whole system is just janky, and it's just like they needed to put more thought into it. And I'm sure they'll have an update where they make it better and better, and they always do. 360 was the same way; they made it better and better, but it's just not there. And PlayStation, the updates that they've done has just been one to the controller light bar.
Right.
I mean, very minor things, but
Mhm.
it's a very fast system. I can jump in and out of a game, and I can go to Netflix and all that, and it's very easy and very fast.
And that's what's so fascinating about the console, like new generation consoles, is that compared to every other technology out there, like when you have a misstep at the beginning, it really hurts you for that entire generation.
Yeah,
You know, there's no backtracking or backpedaling or things of that nature. So how with you owning the Xbox One like up front, how do you feel? How do you feel now since they've taken away the Kinect? Will that kind of alter how you get games? Will that alter how you use the Xbox? Do you feel kind of jaded?
I mean, I feel jaded, and I mean, yeah, I think Microsoft themselves just kind of screwed themselves over. I think Andrick said that they're gonna pretty much be playing catch up the rest of the time. I mean,
Right.
they've just been,
I'm calling it.
yeah, they've been,
Well, Andrew basically pointed out that he's predicting that they're going to be second fiddle.
Yeah, they're going to be second fiddle to PlayStation unless they can pull something major out their ass, and I just don't see
Like
it.
Halo's like virtual reality or something.
which I don't think they're gonna do. And I mean, during E3, I think that's what they're gonna do. Like I said, they're gonna be playing catch up this whole time. I mean, they've just been saying one thing and then they turn everything around. And
That's happened a lot,
yeah,
especially with the 24-hour like internet thing too. Like they're so catered to what people are yelling or what they're saying that they need to have some kind of conviction, you know. And that's where good business really is just stay with it and like have stuff to come out the back end, like content, like you were
Right.
saying earlier.
Right now, I mean, the only exclusive I think I can think of is that Sunset Overdrive that's coming out later, and you know that's one game. I love that game. They were on PlayStation for that company was on PlayStation for a long time. Insomniac, they make great games,
Right.
but at that, I just don't see people buying a console for that
Right.
one game. Yeah.
Right.
and during this E3, since you brought up the VR, I think that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna pretty much focus on Connect games just
Okay.
to kind of counter the virtual reality games that Sony's gonna probably talk about.
Right.
I don't know if Oculus Rift is going to have anything since they're not in the market anymore. It's
You
Facebook.
think they'll have?
I don't know.
virtual, games.
I mean, because that's what Oculus Rift is. I mean,
But
Well,
that's
they're
just
Facebook
now,
owns them, so they could be
I
doing all
don't know
kinds of things.
what they're going to do.
I
But
don't
And-
even see
and that's
them
it- that's-
mentioning that, but
That's interesting that you say that too. That they would come out with the Kinect to kind of offset anything that Sony has as far as virtual, because like they're like, okay, we're gonna remove the Kinect from our initial system package, but we're going to still back it on why you should get it. So it's like they're shooting themselves in the foot, saying, hey, it probably was a bad idea for us to include this,
right.
but this is why you should get it.
Right, and that's exactly what they'll do. They'll, throw a Dance Central, they'll throw some, workout games,
And that's the problem. They're putting it back on the back burner because now this was supposed to be their revolution.
Yeah, it was always on the back burner. Like even people, they were forced to get it.
So you see it as more of it was like forcing just to kind of get that extra premium out of their customers.
Yeah, and I think they were, trying to push it to developers to be like, hey, look, you want to throw some extra things in your game that makes it more, integrated with the user experience as far as yelling and shit like that. You can.
They should have a game that's just called Yelling.
We're gonna tell you right now, it's always coming with an Xbox.
Right.
But since they looked at their profits, you're like, I'm sorry, we got to back them
Right.
on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And sorry, developers, you're fucked over by Xbox again or Microsoft again.
Well, I would think that do you feel, this is a question for both of you, do you feel like this E3 is one of the most important in deciding the direction of Microsoft being able to recover, or do you think they have a little bit more time?
Yeah.
Yes, that this is E3
Yeah,
is
I mean,
important.
it's they're losing the war. It's the fourth quarter and you got 3 outs and you got 2 minutes remaining and 1 ball left and
So suppose guys just killed over, and then you gotta hit a touchdown over the
that's
fence.
right. And you got 1 serve left on your tennis racket and you got to make it count. And this is it. Their back is against the wall because if they can't prove it this year.
And what's funny is I can picture Nintendo's like, oh shit, we got somebody we can pass this asshole. we might be able to make it. We
Right.
see him in the crosshairs.
Right, where Nintendo is already out,
Oh well, we're gonna have to
then
have debate very
Microsoft is
soon.
actually they're in second place.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they are. This E3 is really important. They're playing catch up, and what they need to focus on are games. Do I think they're gonna do that? Yeah, but I think they're still pushing the damn entertainment console.
Right.
I think they're gonna talk about, like I said, they'll probably talk about the Kinect just to counteract the virtual reality games, and they're gonna really push the hell out of their new TV.
Don't forget about the sports that they throw in everybody. Like, hey, I can watch sports with my friend.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be the whole entertainment thing that they're gonna focus on. They're gonna
I predict
Talk
they'll
about
have
the
some
TV
exclusives from
shows.
EA, like again, and TV shows.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, like it all is content. No matter what technology is out there, smartphones, tablets, whatever, it's all about the content that really pushes that hardware.
Right, they did something innovative, and I was hoping they would stick with it with their guns. You mentioned Halo,
Mhm.
but it's now going to be on Showtime, so that kind of
Defeats the purpose.
Why do I need an Xbox? Just to watch that?
Watered it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, next what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Sony, and basically they're in the lead. So definitely check out the next video. Talk to you guys soon.